Hello and welcome. What you are about to hear is a manual, a guide for a specific kind of warfare. It is not fought on a field with swords or guns, but in the quiet, intimate spaces of your life, in your relationships, your workplace, and, most crucially, within your own mind. This is the war against manipulation. We have all felt it. That subtle shift in a conversation where you suddenly find yourself on the defensive. You feel a knot in your stomach, a fog in your thoughts. You started the discussion feeling clear and certain, but now you're confused, apologetic, even guilty. You've been handed a narrative that doesn't feel right, but you can't quite find the words to refute it. You've been led, skillfully, away from your own reason. This is the art of the manipulator, and their most powerful tools are not statements, but questions. A statement can be argued against. A direct lie can be exposed with facts, but a carefully crafted, poisonous question, it bypasses your logical defenses. It doesn't tell you what to think. It seeds a thought, a doubt, an emotion, and lets your own mind do the rest of the work. It's a psychological sleight of hand, making you feel responsible for the chaos the manipulator has created. So, how do we defend ourselves? Do we learn clever comebacks? Do we become manipulators ourselves? No. The answer is not to descend into the mud, but to build a fortress on higher ground. The answer lies in a philosophy forged not in comfort, but in adversity. The answer lies in Stoicism. Stoicism, the ancient Greco-Roman philosophy practiced by Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, is not, as it is sometimes misunderstood, about suppressing emotion. It is about mastering perception. It is about learning to see the world and the people in it clearly and without the distorting lens of unchecked passion. It is about understanding what is within our control, our judgments, our impulses, our actions, and what is not, the words, actions, and opinions of others. A manipulator's entire strategy is built on attacking what is outside your control to disturb what is within it, your peace of mind, your self-worth, your perception of reality. Stoicism provides the mental and emotional armor to render these attacks useless. Over the course of this narration, we will dissect 5 of the most common and destructive questions that liars and manipulators use. For each, we will first understand the question's malicious anatomy, its hook, its poison, and its intended effect. Then, we will apply the precise, unyielding principles of Stoicism to forge a response, not just a verbal retort, but an internal reframing. A way to see the question for what it is, a tool of chaos, and to choose, with calm intent, not to be chaos's instrument. This is not about winning arguments. It is about preserving your inner citadel. It is about learning to say, with the quiet confidence of a Stoic, "You have no power here." Let us begin. Question 1. Are you calling me a liar? This is perhaps the most classic, the most predictable, and yet one of the most effective manipulative questions. It's a verbal ambush. Let's break down its mechanics. You are in a discussion. You have presented a fact, a memory, or a piece of evidence that contradicts the other person's story. You haven't accused them of anything. You've simply stated your truth or an objective reality. And then it comes. The question, often delivered with a tone of wounded outrage or cold fury: are you calling me a liar? The anatomy of the attack. 1. The bait and switch. The question instantly shifts the focus. The topic is no longer the issue at hand, the conflicting fact, the broken promise, the suspicious behavior. The topic is now your character and your aggression. You are no longer discussing an event. You are being put on trial for being impolite, for being accusatory, for daring to challenge them. 2. The emotional quagmire. This question is designed to trigger a social and emotional panic. Most of us are conditioned from childhood to avoid direct confrontation and accusations. To call someone a liar is a profound social transgression. The manipulator knows this. They are banking on your desire to be seen as polite, reasonable, and fair. They force you into a false binary. Either you retreat from your position to prove you're not a bully, or you accept the label of the accuser and plunge the conversation into a toxic, defensive battle. 3. The preemptive strike. By raising the specter of the liar accusation, they inoculate themselves against it. It becomes the elephant in the room that you are now forbidden from mentioning. Any further evidence you present is now framed not as a search for truth, but as a personal attack. They have successfully painted themselves as the victim and you as the aggressor, all with a single brilliantly malicious question. Your untrained instinctive response is often to backpedal. No, of course not. I'm just saying, or I didn't mean it like that. You scramble to reassure them, effectively surrendering your original valid point. The manipulator wins. The inconsistency in their story is swept under the rug, and you are left feeling guilty for having almost uncovered it. The Stoic response. Reclaiming the frame. The Stoic is not swayed by this emotional jujitsu. Why? Because the Stoic understands the dichotomy of control, perhaps the core principle of the philosophy, as taught by Epictetus. Some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our power are our body, our property, our reputation, our office, and, in a word, whatever is not of our own doing. Let's apply this lens to the question, are you calling me a liar? What is not in your control? You cannot control the other person's reaction. You cannot control their attempt to reframe the conversation. You cannot control their feelings of anger or victimhood. You cannot control whether they or anyone else listening temporarily perceives you as rude for standing your ground. Their judgment of your character in this moment is an external, outside your control. What is in your control? Your perception of the event, your judgment of their tactic, your own intention to seek truth and communicate clearly, your choice of how to respond, your virtue, your commitment to honesty and reason. With this clarity, the question loses its power. It is revealed as what it is, an attempt to control an external, your behavior, by threatening another external, your social standing. Your response, therefore, must be calm, clear, and centered on what you control, your own perception and your commitment to the truth. Stoic. Reframing and verbal defense. Internal reframe the mind of the Stoic. As soon as you hear this question, you recognize it. You label it internally. This is the "are you calling me a liar?" maneuver. Its purpose is to derail the conversation and make me responsible for their discomfort. I see it, I understand it, therefore it cannot manipulate me. This moment of recognition is your first and most powerful victory. You have maintained control of your own judgment. Your tone is key. It must be calm, neutral, and matter of fact. Not aggressive, not apologetic, simply factual. 1. The refocus. That is not the point I am making. The point I am making is about the specific fact or event. Can we address that point? I am not mesic. This politely but firmly ignores the bait. You refuse to be dragged into their framed debate. You are the steady hand guiding the conversation back to the track. You are acting as a moderator, not a combatant. 2. The factual anchor. I am not making a judgment about your character. I am stating an observable fact. Repeat the fact. My statement stands on its own. How do you reconcile that with what you said? Why it works. This separates the person from the action, a core Stoic practice. You are judging the action, the inconsistent statement, not the soul of the person. You are upholding your duty to truth without launching a personal attack. 3. The direct, unemotional acknowledgement used with caution, and only when you are certain I am stating that what you said does not align with the evidence. Whether you intend it to or not is a separate matter. My focus is on establishing what is true, why it works. This is the most advanced response. It does not use the word liar, which is a label, but it directly addresses the discrepancy without flinching. It demonstrates that you are not afraid of the confrontation they are trying to create, but you will engage with it on your own terms, the terms of evidence. The goal is not to win by making them admit they are a liar. The goal is to remain in your sphere of control, to uphold your own reason, and to refuse to play a game whose rules are designed for you to lose. By refusing to be sidetracked, you expose the emptiness of their tactic. The manipulator's power relies on your predictable emotional reaction. When you respond with stoic clarity, you reveal that you are not a puppet whose strings they can pull. You have disarmed the first weapon. Question 2. WHY? Are you being so sensitive? This question is a masterclass in psychological gaslighting. Its aim is to pathologize your legitimate emotional response, making you the problem instead of their problematic behavior. The scenario is familiar. Someone makes a cruel joke, a dismissive comment, or breaks a boundary. You express that you are hurt, angry, or upset. Instead of acknowledging your feelings or their action, they look at you with a mixture of pity and confusion and ask, "Why are you being so sensitive?" The anatomy of the attack. 1. Invalidation as a weapon. The core of this attack is the complete invalidation of your emotional experience. Your feelings are not treated as a valid, understandable reaction to an external stimulus. They are framed as a strange, irrational, and disproportionate glitch in your system. The problem isn't the punch, the problem is your bruise. 2. Shifting the locus of fault. The manipulator expertly moves the fault from their actions, the cause, to your reactions, the effect. They create a narrative where they are the normal, reasonable one, and you are the fragile, unstable one who cannot handle normal interaction. This is a profound power grab. It gives them carte blanche to continue their behavior, as any objection from you will simply be further proof of your oversensitivity. 3. The implied superiority. The question carries a heavy dose of condescension. It implies that they are stronger, thicker-skinned, and more rational than you. It's a way of saying a better person, a stronger person, wouldn't be bothered by this. Your bother is a sign of your weakness. This can be incredibly effective at making you doubt your own perceptions and feelings. The instinctive response is often self-doubt. Am I being too sensitive? Maybe I misread the situation. Maybe I should just let it go. You begin to police your own emotions, trying to contort yourself into the less sensitive mold they have defined. You learn to swallow your hurt to avoid being labeled. In doing so, you grant them permission to hurt you indefinitely. The Stoic response. The sovereignty of judgment. The Stoic response to this is not to become an unfeeling rock. Stoics feel emotion deeply. The difference is that they do not grant their emotions unchecked dominion over their judgment. They practice what is sometimes called prosoe, or attention, a vigilant awareness of their own impressions. Central to this is a concept from Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. And also, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Let's apply this. What is not in your control? You cannot control the other person's insulting comment or their refusal to validate your feelings. You cannot control their narrative that you are sensitive. What is in your control? Your judgment of their comment, your assent to the impression that you have been wronged, and most importantly, your decision on what value to assign to their opinion of your sensitivity. A Stoic understands that an insult by itself cannot harm you. It is just a sound, a set of words. As Marcus Aurelius said, choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. The harm comes from your judgment that you have been insulted and your subsequent emotional turbulence. This does not mean you should simply accept poor behavior. The Stoic virtue of justice demands that we stand against wrongdoing and uphold healthy boundaries. The key is to do it from a place of choice, not a raw, unexamined reaction. Stoic reframing and verbal defense. Internal reframe the mind of the Stoic. When you hear "Why are you so sensitive?" you pause. You do not immediately accept the premise. You ask yourself internally, is my reaction proportionate to the event? Have a boundary been crossed? Has a value of mine been violated? If the answer is yes, then your feeling is not oversensitivity, it is a correct internal alarm bell ringing. The manipulator is not pointing out a flaw in you, they are trying to disconnect you from your own alarm system. Your feeling is data, not a defect. Your tone should be one of calm self-possession. You are defining your own reality. 1. The boundary assertion. My sensitivity is not the topic. The topic is your comment and action. I am telling you that it was hurtful, inappropriate. I am setting a boundary. Why it works. This is a brilliant Stoic power move. It completely bypasses the debate about your character. It states a fact about their action and declares your response to the boundary as a simple, non-negotiable consequence. You are not asking for their permission to feel hurt. You are informing them of the effect of their cause. 2. The reframe of strength. I am not being sensitive. I am being clear about what I will and will not accept. That is a sign of self-respect, not weakness. Why it works. This flips their script. It redefines the situation from one of fragility to one of strength and integrity. You are claiming the virtue of justice for yourself. You are standing up for what is right. This is the opposite of weakness. 3. The uninterested dismissal. I won't debate my feelings with you. I've stated my position. You can choose to respect it or not, and I will act accordingly. Why it works. This is the ultimate demonstration of control. You are stating that their opinion on your emotional state is irrelevant. You have assessed the situation, made a judgment, and declared your course of action. The conversation is over. You have taken the wind completely out of their manipulative sails. You are not engaged in their game. By refusing to have your emotional responses invalidated, you reclaim your inner sovereignty. The manipulator wants you to believe that your feelings are a liability. The Stoic knows that when examined and understood, they are a source of information and a guide to living virtuously. You acknowledge the feeling, you judge its cause wisely, and you act from principle, not from reaction. You have neutralized the second weapon. Question 3. Don't you trust me? This question is a strategic nuclear weapon, deployed to bypass reason and appeal directly to the bond of a relationship. It is emotionally coercive and designed to instill guilt. The context is usually one where trust has already been eroded, or where the manipulator is asking you to take a significant leap of faith without evidence. There is suspicious behavior, a pattern of minor betrayals, or a request that makes you intuitively uneasy. When you express hesitation or ask for clarification, they hit you with the ultimate guilt trip. Don't you trust me? The anatomy of the attack. 1. The false equivalency. This question cleverly equates trust with agreement. It frames any hesitation, any question, any desire for evidence as a fundamental betrayal of the relationship itself. You are not merely questioning a single action, you are questioning their entire character and the foundation of your connection. 2. The burden shift. The manipulator makes you the villain. The issue is no longer their suspicious behavior that has caused a trust deficit. The issue is now your lack of trust, which is portrayed as a character flaw, a sin against the relationship. You are made to feel like a bad friend, a bad partner, a bad child for not offering blind faith. 3. The emotional blackmail. This question is pure coercion. It implies that if you really loved them, respected them, or valued the relationship, you would silence your doubts. It's a test of loyalty where the only passing grade is your unconditional capitulation. It preys on your fear of conflict and your desire to be seen as a trusting, loving person. The instinctive response is to cave. Of course I trust you. I was just wondering. You rush to reassure them, to prove your loyalty, and in doing so, you abandon your own legitimate concerns. You override your intuition to avoid the painful accusation of being distrustful. You hand over your discernment as a sacrifice on the altar of the relationship. The Stoic response. The earned virtue of trust. The Stoic has a very clear-eyed view of trust. For a Stoic, trust is not a blanket entitlement granted by a title like partner, parent, or friend. Trust is a natural consequence of character, built slowly, like a sturdy wall, brick by brick, through consistent virtuous action. It can also be dismantled, brick by brick, through contrary actions. Epictetus offers devastatingly clear advice on this very topic. If a person has delivered your trust to them, that is bad for them. But maybe they delivered their trust to you. Then you are faithless if you don't deliver. But to say you must trust everyone is madness. You must trust the trustworthy. Let's break this down with the dichotomy of control. What is not in your control? You cannot control the other person's desire for your trust. You cannot control their attempts to make you feel guilty for withholding it. You cannot control their narrative that you are a bad person for being discerning. What is in your control? Your judgment of their trustworthiness, based on the evidence of their past and present actions. Your decision on whether to extend trust in this specific instance. Your commitment to the virtue of wisdom, making judgments based on reality, not on coercion. A Stoic understands that blind trust is not a virtue, it is a folly. To trust someone who has proven themselves untrustworthy is to act against nature and reason. It is to ignore the data the world is giving you. Stoic reframing and verbal defense. Internal reframe. The mind of the Stoic. When faced with "don't you trust me," you do not feel guilt. You feel a clarifying focus. You ask yourself, what does the evidence say? Has this person acted in a trustworthy manner in similar situations? Is my hesitation based on a pattern or a paranoid impression? Your trust is not a prize they can demand. It is a judgment you make. You are the gatekeeper of your own trust, and the gate only opens for those who have earned the key through action. Verbal responses. The speech of the Stoic. Your tone is not accusatory. It is simply factual, firm, and grounded in reality. 1. The reality-based response. Trust is built through consistent and reliable actions. My questions are a response to the current situation, which seems inconsistent. Let's address the situation, and trust will be a natural outcome. Why it works. This is a masterful response. It educates without being condescending. It defines trust not as a feeling, but as a logical conclusion. It places the responsibility for building trust exactly where it belongs, on the person asking for it. You are not denying trust, you are outlining the path to it. 2. The direct, unflinching answer. For when trust has been broken. Right now, based on site-specific past actions, I have reason to be cautious. My trust isn't given on demand, it's restored through demonstrable change. This conversation is part of that process. Why it works. This is courageous and profoundly Stoic. It speaks the truth without malice. It refuses to play the game of pretend. It holds up a mirror to their actions and shows them the direct consequence. This is not an attack, it is a statement of cause and effect. 3. The reframing of the issue. This isn't about a blanket trust. It's about this specific decision action. I need more information to feel comfortable with it. Can we discuss the specifics? Why it works. This shrinks the problem down from a monumental, relationship-ending accusation to a practical, solvable discussion. You are refusing the grandiose framing of, "you don't trust me," and bringing it back to earth. "I have questions about X." It de-dramatizes their manipulation. By treating trust as a rational judgment Rather than an emotional offering, you strip the manipulator of their primary weapon, guilt. You calmly place the burden of proof back on their shoulders, where it belongs. You demonstrate that your trust is valuable and it must be earned. A manipulator thrives in the fog of emotional obligation. The Stoic shines the clear, bright light of reason into that fog, and the manipulation evaporates. You have dismantled the third weapon. Question 4. Do you really believe I would do that? This question is a close cousin to, are you calling me a liar? But it is more sophisticated and insidious. It doesn't just attack your manners, it attacks your imagination and your capacity for moral judgment. It's a question of pure theatrical self-presentation. The scenario involves a serious accusation, either stated or strongly implied by the evidence. They have been caught in a lie, or there is compelling reason to believe they have committed a significant wrong. Instead of addressing the evidence, they go on the offensive with a performance of wounded virtue. Do you really believe I would do something like that? That is always delivered with a tone of horror and disgust, as if the very notion is unthinkable. The anatomy of the attack. 1. The appeal to a fictional self-image. The manipulator is not asking you to consider the evidence. They are asking you to compare the accusation to an idealized, flawless version of themselves that they have constructed in your mind. They are saying, the person you know me to be, the good moral person, is incapable of this. Therefore you must be mistaken. 2. The shaming of suspicion. This question makes your suspicion the truly monstrous thing. By expressing doubt, you are revealed as someone who could entertain such a vile thought about such a wonderful person. You are the one with the dark imagination. You are the one capable of believing something horrible. They position themselves on the moral high ground, looking down with pity at your cynicism. 3. The bypass of evidence. This is the entire point. The question is a magic trick designed to make the evidence disappear. It doesn't matter what the text messages say, what the receipts show, or what the eyewitness account reports. All of that is rendered irrelevant by the sheer, breathtaking audacity of their performance. They are counting on your desire to believe in the good person you thought they were, to override the inconvenient facts staring you in the face. The instinctive response is cognitive dissonance. Your brain holds two conflicting ideas. The evidence is compelling, and this person seems genuinely appalled. I would think this. To resolve the discomfort, you often dismiss the evidence. You're right, I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. Of course you wouldn't do that. You choose the comforting story over the uncomfortable truth. The Stoic response. The primacy of reality over appearance. The Stoic is immune to this kind of theatricality. Why? Because Stoicism is a philosophy of substance over style. It cares not for what people say they are, but for what they do. It is deeply suspicious of performances and appeals to image. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to look past the surface. Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question. What fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize? But this works both ways. He also strived to see things as they are, not as they are presented. He practiced stripping away the legend surrounding an event to see the plain facts. Let's apply this ruthless commitment to reality. What is not in your control? You cannot control the other person's theatrical performance of innocence. You cannot control their feigned shock and hurt. You cannot control the charming or virtuous persona they have cultivated over time. What is in your control? Your judgment of the evidence, separate from their performance. Your willingness to see actions, not just words. Your courage to accept a painful truth over a comforting lie. A Stoic understands that a person's proclaimed identity is worthless. Their character is revealed in their choices, their actions, and how they handle adversity. As Seneca wrote, "You can tell the character of every man when you see how he gives and receives praise." Stoic reframing and verbal defense. Internal reframe the mind of the Stoic. When you hear, "Do you really believe I would do that?" you do not get drawn into a debate about their essential goodness. You simply observe. They are performing. They are attempting to replace evidence with emotion. You bring your focus back to the central point, the observable facts. You separate the actor from the action. Verbal responses, the speech of the Stoic. Your tone is dispassionate, like a scientist reporting data. You are utterly uninterested in the drama. 1. The evidence-based return. What I believe is secondary. What we have to address are the facts. State the facts clearly and concisely. How do you explain these facts? Why it works? This is a laser-guided response. It ignores the emotional performance entirely and lands squarely on the bedrock of reality. You are not questioning their soul, you are questioning their accounting of events. You force the conversation back to a realm where manipulation is difficult. 2. The refusal to engage the performance. My beliefs aren't the issue. The issue is the evidence that suggests this occurred. Let's stick to that. Why it works. Similar to the first, this politely but firmly declines to participate in their theatrical production. You are like a stagehand who refuses to play a part in the play, instead pointing at the props and asking how they work. 3. The direct challenge to the premise. My understanding of your character is based on your actions. Right now, these actions are what I have to go on. So let's talk about these specific actions. Why it works. This is a powerful Stoic declaration. It states clearly that your perception of them is not fixed. It is a living assessment that updates with new data. You are holding them accountable to the person their actions reveal them to be, not the person they claim to be. By refusing to be swayed by an appeal to a fictional self-image, you call the manipulator's bluff. They are investing in the hope that your perception of their character is stronger than your perception of reality. The Stoic demonstrates that reality always wins. You force them to either address the evidence or reveal, through their continued evasion, that they have no legitimate defense. You have shattered the fourth weapon. Question 5. Everyone else understands.
Why can't you?
This is the weapon of the mob. It is the tool of peer pressure, social isolation, and conformity. Its purpose is to make you feel alone, abnormal, and stupid for holding a position that differs from the implied consensus. The context is one where you are standing on a principle, refusing to go along with a group decision you find unethical, or simply expressing a dissenting opinion. The manipulator, unable to defeat your argument on its merits, attempts to defeat it by social proof. They gesture to a vague, faceless everyone and declare that you are the odd one out. I don't get why you're making this so difficult. Everyone else understands why we have to do it this way. Why can't you? The anatomy of the attack. 1. The manufactured consensus. The everyone is almost always exaggerated or entirely fictional. It's a rhetorical device, not a statistical reality. But by invoking it, the manipulator creates the illusion that you are standing against an unstoppable tide of reasonable opinion. Your dissent is framed as a form of stubbornness or a failure to comprehend something that is obvious to all normal people. 2. The attack on your competence. This question implies that there is something wrong with your mental or social faculties. You don't get it. You're not on the same page. You're being difficult. It pathologizes independent thought, framing it as a kind of social illiteracy. 3. The fear of ostracism. This is the most potent element. Humans are tribal creatures. The fear of being cast out from the group is a deep, primal anxiety. The manipulator taps directly into this fear. They are offering you a choice: conform and belong, or dissent and be alone. For many, the prospect of social isolation is far more terrifying than the prospect of being wrong or acting against their conscience. The instinctive response is to look around, to doubt your own judgment. The weight of the imagined everyone feels immense. You feel a pressure to capitulate, to nod along, to silence your objections just to feel like you belong again. You surrender your individuality to the mob to avoid the pain of exile. The Stoic response: the citadel of the self. No philosophy is better equipped to handle the tyranny of the crowd than Stoicism. The Stoics' moral compass is internal, not external. Their sense of worth and purpose is derived from living in accordance with virtue and reason, not from the applause or approval of the multitude. This is a theme that echoes through all the Stoics. Epictetus, born a slave, was perhaps the most direct. If you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in extraneous matters, don't wish to seem knowledgeable, and if some regard you as important, distrust yourself. And Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, constantly reminded himself, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. And elsewhere, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." The Stoic is a citizen of the cosmos, a cosmopolites. Their primary allegiance is to reason and virtue, not to any particular tribe or popular opinion. What is not in your control? You cannot control what everyone else supposedly thinks. You cannot control the manipulator's attempt to create a false consensus. You cannot control whether the group temporarily excludes you for your principles. What is in your control? Your own reason and your commitment to your principles. Your judgment of what is right and virtuous. Your willingness to stand alone if necessary for the truth as you see it. For a Stoic, being the only one who doesn't understand a dishonest or unethical plan is not a mark of shame, it is a badge of honor. It means your internal compass is still functioning. Stoic: reframing and verbal defense. Internal: reframe the mind of the Stoic. When you hear everyone else understands, you do not feel fear or loneliness. You feel a quiet, solid strength. You think to yourself, the number of people who believe something has no bearing on its truth. My duty is to act according to my nature, which is rational and social, not according to the herd. You become a citadel, and the shouts of the crowd outside your walls become mere noise. Verbal responses: the speech of the Stoic. Your tone is one of unshakable self-containment. You are an island of reason in a sea of pressure. 1. The principle-based stand. My understanding is based on my principles, not on popular opinion, and my principles lead me to a different conclusion. I'm happy to explain my reason. Why it works. This is a profound statement of integrity. It elevates the conversation from a petty disagreement to a clash of values. It states clearly that you are not swayed by social proof. You are anchored to something deep. 2. The challenge to the consensus. Who is everyone? I'd be interested to hear their specific reasoning, as the reasoning I've heard so far hasn't addressed my concerns. Why it works. This calls their bluff. It forces the vague everyone into the light. Often the manipulator cannot name names or articulate this collective understanding because it doesn't exist. You expose the emptiness of their argument. 3. The simple, unapologetic declaration. Then it seems I am the one who doesn't, and based on my judgment, I cannot agree. Why it works. This is the ultimate power move. It accepts their premise that you are the outlier and wears it as a suit of armor. There is no defensiveness, no anger, just a calm, final statement of your position. It demonstrates that their social pressure is utterly ineffective. You are not afraid to stand alone. By divorcing your self-worth from the approval of the group, you become manipulation-proof. The manipulator's entire strategy collapses when they realize that the threat of isolation holds no terror for you. You have found a deeper, more resilient community within yourself, guided by the wisdom of the Stoics and your own rational mind. You have demolished the fifth and final weapon. We have journeyed through the dark arts of manipulation, examining 5 of its most potent questions. We have seen their hooks, their poisons, and their intended effects on the untrained mind. 1. Are you calling me a liar? a bait and switch to make you the aggressor. 2. Why are you being so sensitive? An invalidation tactic to pathologize your legitimate feelings. 3. Don't you trust me? An emotional blackmail to bypass evidence and reason. 4. Do you really believe I would do that? A theatrical performance to replace reality with a fictional self-image. 5. Everyone else understands, why can't you? A social pressure play to isolate you and enforce conformity. Each of these questions is a different path leading to the same destination, the erosion of your inner citadel. They are designed to cloud your judgment, trigger your insecurities, and make you a slave to the manipulator's narrative. But armed with Stoicism, we have mapped these paths and built fortifications at every turn. The Stoic defense is not a series of clever tricks. It is a fundamental reorientation of your being. It is the practice of the dichotomy of control, which allows you to see these questions for what they are: external events, like rain or wind, that cannot harm the core of you unless you permit them. It is the commitment to virtue, to wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, which provides an unshakable moral compass when others are trying to spin you in circles. The manipulator's power is an illusion, a phantom that feeds on your reaction. When you respond not with raw emotion but with stoic clarity, when you refocus, assert boundaries, demand evidence, and stand on principle, you do not just win an argument. You do something far more important. You declare your sovereignty. You demonstrate that your peace of mind, your self-worth, and your perception of reality are not commodities to be traded or weapons to be used against you. They are the unassailable possessions of a rational mind. Remember the words of Epictetus: "No person is free who is not master of themselves." The ultimate goal of navigating manipulation is not to control others, but to achieve this self-mastery. It is to reach a point where the chaotic words and actions of others meet a calm, disciplined, and unyielding inner citadel. So the next time you feel that familiar knot in your stomach, that fog of confusion, hear the echo of the Stoics. Pause, ask yourself, what is in my control? What does virtue demand of me here? See the manipulative question for the hollow instrument it is, and then, with calm intent, choose your response. Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Choose to act with justice, and you will never be a victim. Choose to value your own reasoned judgment above the noisy opinions of others, and you will be free. This is the Stoic shield. It is always with you. You need only decide to raise it. Thank you for listening.